I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we're reading from the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 24. Let's focus on verses 13 and 14. So Gad went to David, told him the choices, and asked him, "Do you want 3 years of famine to come on your land? To flee from your foes for 3 months while they pursue you, or to have a plague in your land for 3 days? Now think it over and decide what you want, what answer I should take back to the one who sent me." And David answered Gad, "I have great anxiety. Please let me fall into the Lord's hands, because his mercies are great. But don't let me fall into human hands." Several years ago, there was an inspiring event at an Illinois zoo. A 3-year-old toddler had fallen 18 feet into an area that was inhabited by 7 gorillas. Well, this toddler was crawling where toddlers shouldn't, and then he discovered the fate of those who were ignorant of or disobedient to the rules. And the boy was still alert when he was taken to a hospital where he was listed in critical condition. So, how did that boy ever get out of gorilla land? Well, as it turned out, a 7-year-old female gorilla picked up the child and cradled him like a baby in her arms. And then she quietly walked over and put him down near a door where zookeepers could get him. The story is so amazing to us because we don't generally associate gorillas with kindness. And the toddler's parents may be grateful to that female gorilla, but I'm certain that they would prefer not to trust that gorilla with their child again. They didn't call the gorilla to babysit, for example, on their weekend date nights. So David cries, "Please let me fall into the Lord's hands because his mercies are great." David is about to meet the Lord's wrath, and yet David is still convinced of the Lord's mercy. Somehow David imagines that the hand that strikes him will nevertheless be the hand which spares him. David's assumptions are astounding, but are they wrong? His words in verse 14 communicate more than compulsory resignation. I guess I have to believe this. They provide an abundant comfort. See how well David knows the Lord? In his moment of crisis, even a crisis that he brought upon himself, David's theology seems to come out almost by reflex action. And isn't this how it should be in our Christian experience? Why do we always have our best theology saved up for our darkest moments? When we sin, even when we sin greatly, is there a kinder place for us to fall than into the hands of the Lord? You see, at the gut level, all too often we have a gorilla view of God's mercies. We tend to look upon mercy as a defined exception for a few select people rather than God's normal character. Even in the midst of God's wrath, David knew that he was not facing an unreliable gorilla God. David was a believer. But was he a believer who had a grip on God's mercy? No, God's mercy had its grip on David. And by the way, if you've surrendered to the gospel, he has his grip on you as well. You say, "Well, what about me? I've never surrendered to the gospel." Well, then you should do so today. And if you go to our website, groundworksministries.com, there's a video that can lead you straight through the gospel, and you could pray to receive the Lord today. The right time to do the right thing is always right now, and the Bible says today is the day of salvation. I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Groundworks Ministries operates entirely through financial donations from faithful people like you. And if you're being ministered to through the daily teaching of Groundworks Ministries, and you'd like to help us lead God's people back to the Bible, well then would you consider donating to Groundworks Ministries today? Because we need your support now more than ever. Donating is secure and it's easy at our website, so check us out, groundworksministries.com.